Hey, everybody, it's me, Mr. Mahoney. Do you miss me? Well, now it's like I'm right here in the classroom with you, watching you. I sure hope that student who's never behaving themselves is behaving themselves right now. You know who you are. So today we're going to, because I'm not here, we are going to, yay, yay, I can hear you cheering. All right, we are going to still learn something. Boo, I can hear you booing. Um, but it's going to be really awesome and fun. Today's lesson is yo, 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 what's a proportion? They can't all rhyme. I'm sorry. Yo, 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 what's a proportion? Let's find out. All right, I know I've mentioned them already. You're probably curious to learn more. So, first of all, what is a ratio? Do you remember what a ratio is? A ratio is what? Think about it. A ratio is a relationship between two numbers. Yes, I'm sure you all got that right. I hope you did. All right, remember that one. A ratio is a relationship between two numbers. That's all. Very simple. All right, remember I had my quokkas and axolotl zoo. If I had three quokkas and two axolotls, that would be a ratio of 3 to 2. And if I wanted to keep that ratio, but I got three more quokkas, then I would need two more axolotls to balance it out. So I would have 6 to 4. 6 to 4 is an equivalent ratio to 3 to 2. Okay? What if instead of 6, I had 15 quokkas, but I wanted to keep that same ratio of 3 to 2? I would need a total of 10 axolotls to balance it out because 15 to 10 is a ratio that simplifies to 3 to 2. And another way to think of that is 3 plus 2 is 5, right? So every group of of 5 animals in my zoo, has 3 quokkas and 2 axolotls. And we can click through and we can see, we can group them all. 3 to 2 is our ratio all throughout the zoo, and there are none left over. All right. We talked about ratio of cats and dogs. If there were 8 cat lovers to 16 dog lovers. I know this is all review. We'll get to the new stuff soon, I promise. All right. What are 3 ways to write the ratio of cat lovers to dog lovers? Take a second and answer that question right now. Did you get it? 3 ways to write the ratio of cat lovers to dog lovers. 8 to 16, we can write it with words. We can write it 8:16 with a colon. And we can write it 8/16 as a fraction. Okay. Does the order of the numbers matter? I'm not even going to make you answer that one because I know you know it. Yes, of course it does, right? The order of the numbers matters. If I said my ratio of cat lovers to dog lovers was 16 to 8, I would have that backwards. Everybody would think that this dog with the egg was less beloved than Grumpy Cat. Rest in peace, Grumpy Cat. All right, they would think that it was 16 cat lovers and 8 dog lovers. And that's not the case. That's why it has to be represented. If I say cat lovers to dog lovers, I have to say 8 to 16. And of course, like any fraction, we can simplify that. 8 to 16 simplifies to 1 to 2. Okay, that means for every one cat lover, there are 2 dog lovers. And we talked about some variations on that. If there's one cat lover for every 2 dog lovers, if I had 10 cat lovers in the class, that would mean there were 20 dog lovers. Okay, for every one cat lover, 2 dog lovers. For 10, there are 20. All right, so let's talk about proportions. I promised new stuff. Here it is. All right, proportions is what we were just talking about, actually. A proportion is an equation involving equivalent ratios. What does that mean? Well, let's look at a problem here. All right, let's say I wanted to buy some cookies from Crumble Cookies. Has anybody had Crumble Cookies? They are delicious. They are way overpriced, though. All right, they're opening one here in Burbank. Maybe by the time you watch this video, they've already opened it. I don't know. So let's say it takes Crumble 2 hours to make 3 batches of their delicious overpriced cookies. How long will it take Crumble Cookies to make 6 batches of their delicious overpriced cookies? Okay, there's a ratio in there, right? 2 hours for 3 batches. So I want to find the equivalent ratio for 6 batches. Let's make this a proportion. All right. So 2 hours for 3 batches. There's my ratio. And remember, proportions are equations involving equivalent ratios. So an equation has an equal sign. There's my equal sign. And then I don't know how many hours it's going to take for 6 batches, so I'm going to call it X. That's what we do in algebra. We don't know the number yet. We give it a letter, usually X. X is a very, very popular letter in algebra for some reason. All right, notice also that I've lined this up so that batches is in the denominator on both fractions. That's very important, okay? I couldn't do 2 hours to 3 batches and then on the other side do 6 batches to X hours. I have to, if I put hours in the numerator and batches in the denominator, for my proportion to be a proportion, I have to put hours in the numerator, batches in the denominator on the other side, okay? I could do it the other way if I wanted to. I could put batches in the numerator, hours in the denominator, but then I have to follow up with 6 batches in the numerator, X hours in the denominator. All right, hopefully that makes sense. So let's keep our proportion like this. 2 hours for 3 batches equals X hours for 6 batches. All right, you can probably do the math in your head there. How many hours would it take for 6 batches? 4 hours, right? Twice as many batches would take twice as many hours. Remember, ratios and proportions are built around multiplication and division, okay? So if I'm doubling the number of batches, I have to double the number of hours it takes to make them. Here's another proportion. 1/2 equals 5/10, right? We know that those are equivalent fractions. Those are equivalent ratios. A ratio of 1 to 2 is equivalent to a ratio of 5 to 10. If I have 1 cat lover for every 2 dog lovers in my class, and I have 5 cat lovers, that would mean I have 10 dog lovers. All right? But how you usually see proportions is like this, with a number left out, and you will have to figure out what number has been left out. So you'll be given the equation n over 5 equals 4 over 10, and you'll have to figure out, well, what goes in place of n to make that equation true, to make that a proportion, a true proportion where the two ratios are equivalent. Okay, so this one, maybe you can do this one in your head. They're going to get harder, though. You probably are wondering, is there an easy way to solve proportions? Let me move this over so you can see my Bitmoji. There I am. All right, is there an easy way to solve proportions? No. Really? Really? Oh, I made my own Bitmoji sad. And a cat for some reason. Don't cry. Oh, now I gotta move this again. Let's move this over here. Okay. Don't cry. But I gotta move this again. But there are 3 easy ways to solve proportions. Ha 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 ha. Now I'm mad at myself. This is very meta. This is a very meta lesson here, everybody. All right, I'm shaking a fist at myself. Oh, actually, it worked that I'm up in the corner now because he looks like he's mad at me. All right, so n over 5 equals 4 over 10. Let's talk about a way to solve that. Method number 1 is the horizontal method because proportions are proportional in a lot of different ways, and one way is horizontally. Horizontally, of course, means from left to right, across. So let's look at what happens when I move from left to right across my denominators in this proportion. I started with 5 on the left, and I end with 10 on the right. I'm multiplying by what? 2, you're saying. 5 times 2 is 10. Yes, Mr. Mahoney. That's right. I understand that. Okay, perfect. Well, that means if I'm multiplying my denominators by 2, I'm going to use the same multiplier with the numerators. So that means I'm going to multiply n times 2 to get to 4. And the multiplying goes in the same direction. I can't say 4 times 2 is 8 and make n 8, right? I have to go, if I'm multiplying 5 times 2 and is 10, I'm multiplying in that direction. I have to multiply n times 2 is 4. I have to multiply in that direction. All right, what times 2 is 4? It's 2. You said it 2 minutes ago. You're shaking your fist at me. Let's move this along faster, Mr. Mahoney. I understand. Right? All right. So that means to solve my proportion here, n would have to equal 2. 2/5 equals 4/10. Okay? That makes sense, right? If you think of it in terms of fractions, it's no different as ratios. Okay, here's another one, and I want you to try this one on your own. Look for a horizontal multiplier from 7 to 28. what is the multiplier that gets me from 7 to 28? What do I multiply 7 times to get 28? Yes, you can use a multiplication chart if you need one. Pause the video, go up and pick one up if you need to. Are you back? Great. All right. So you're finding out 7 times what number is 28, and then you're going to multiply that number on the top two. It's 4. 7 times 4 is 28. So let's multiply n times 4 would give us 24. What number would solve that equation? N times 4 is 24. N has to be what? Check your multiplication chart if you need to. 6. 6 times 4 is 24. That means 6 to 7 is proportional to 24 to 28. And to 28. And you can think of it in terms of fractions too, right? 6/7 is equal to 24/28. That's just an equivalent fraction. Equivalent ratios are the same thing. And the horizontal method is one way to solve them. All right. Is there another way? Well, look at this one. 4 times what is 6? Well, 1.5. I don't want to deal with fractions or decimals if I don't have to. Well, good news. There's the vertical method you can use. The vertical method, vertical, remember, means up and down. So vertical in this case would what number do I multiply 4 by to get 12? 4 times what number is 12? 3, you're saying, Mr. Mahoney. Yes, that's right. 4 times 3 is 12. Well, if 3 is my multiplier on my left side of my proportion, that means 3 is going to be the multiplier on the right side as well. That means I'm going to take that 6 and multiply it by 3. 6 times 3 will give me the value of n. And 6 times 3, check your multiplication chart if you need to, hopefully you knew this one, is 18. All right, 6 times 3 is 18. That means n is 18. So when I put that in, I've got 4 over 12 equals 6 over 18. 4 to 12 equals 6 to 18 is my ratio, my proportion. All right, now here's another one for you to try. Look for a multiplier on the left side. 3 times what number is 24? Then use that same multiplier on the right side. 5 times that same number and tell me what n is. Okay? I want you to enter it in to the Edpuzzle now. All right. Hopefully you got as your multiplier 8, because 3 times 8 is 24. Then you multiplied 5 times 8, and you learned that n equals 40. All right. Hopefully that is what you got, because that is the correct answer. All right. There's another way we can do this. Let's say we can't go horizontally or vertically. In this case, we could easily do horizontally, but let's not. All right. We can cross multiply. And what that means is I'm going to multiply the diagonals in my proportion. I'm going to multiply 6 times 8. 6 times 8, check your multiplication chart if you need to, is 48. All right? And that means what I get from that diagonal, that product, 48, is going to be the same product I get from the other diagonal, 12 times n. My lights are going out because I've been sitting down too long. So now I'm going to embarrass myself by waving my hands and jumping around so that the lights go back on. This is fun. I do this all the time when there's nobody in the classroom. There you go. Now you can make fun of me for that tomorrow. All right. So that means 6 times 8 is 48. 12 times n is also going to be 48. So 12 times what number is 48? Check your multiplication chart if you have to. It's 4. 12 times 4 is 48. So that means 4 to 6 is equal to 8 to 12, right? That's a proportion. 4 6 equals 8 twelfths. And if I look at those fractions, right, they would both simplify to 2/3. All right. Now I want you to try one. Cross multiply. Find the product you get from the diagonals. Multiply 6 times 12. That's going to be the same product you would get if you multiply 9 times n. And use that to figure out what n has to be. Okay? All right, so when you multiplied 9 times n, in algebra, we just write that as 9n. You can write 9 times n for now because we haven't really done algebra yet. And then 6 times 12, you did without your multiplication chart, I know. You got a 72, all right? 6 times 12 is 72. That's 6 times 10 is 60, plus 6 times 2 is 12, 72, all right? So 72 has to be the same product for 9 times n. So I ask myself, what number times 9 would give me 72? And the answer is 8. So 8 is the value of n. Hopefully that is what you got there. Okay? All right. Let's do some problems. There's actually a fourth method that I forgot to put in my slideshow, I guess. But we can do it on this one right here. All right, the fourth method is to simplify. Simplify your fraction. So if I've got 6 over 9, or simplify that ratio, 6 over 9 simplifies to 2 over 3, right? 2 over 3, and now I can use any of my methods to figure out what n has to be. 3 multiplied by 4 is 12. That means 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. So I get the same thing that way. All right, so method number 4, simplify one of your ratios first if you can. All right, let's try a few problems. I want to see how you're doing. So 2 over 3 equals 4 over x. Find the value of x. Use the horizontal method, the vertical method, the cross multiplication method, or the simplification method if you can. Okay? Whichever method you think is going to work really well there. Psst, horizontal. All right, hopefully you got x equals 6. 2 to 3 is equivalent to 4 to 6. Good. All right, here's another one. Go. Hopefully you got x equals 40. Let's try another one. 5 to 2 equals 30 to x. Use any method you want. X equals 12. We have another one. Yeah, 15 to 25 equals x to 10. Use your method. Go. X equals 6. All right, now we're going to mix it up a little bit. Now I want you to look at this pair of ratios and determine if it's a proportion. And remember, if it's a proportion, it has to work horizontally, vertically, and if you cross multiply. The best way to check, I think, is to cross multiply. So multiply on the diagonals. 11 times 5 gives us 55. 13 times 3 gives us 39. Did we get the same product from both diagonals? 55 and 39? No. So this is not a proportion. All right, that is not a proportion. I want you to try that on the next one now. Cross multiply. You can simplify first if you want to, and then tell me if that is a proportion. Yes, it is. 8 times 6 is 48. 3 times 16 is also 48. Even if you simplify 6/16 to 3/13 first, then you get 39 and 39. Right? 3 times 8. No, that's not right. Then you get 8 times, you get 24 and 24. Sorry. See, everybody makes mistakes. I'm not even going to edit that out. Also, I'm almost out of time. All right. 5 over 9 and 7 over 11. Is that a proportion? No. All right. Hopefully, this concludes our lesson. So hopefully you understand how to do this. I want you to use the rest of class time to do the problems in the Check Your Understanding booklet on proportions so that you can check your understanding. And if you have any questions, you can ask me tomorrow when I am back. All right? And be good for the sub, please. Thank you.